there. Welcome to the podcast. Guys, coming up October, every October, it's National Principal Month. Okay. And today's podcast, we're going to give you a bunch of ideas on how to celebrate National Principal Month. I have invited Melissa Marti from Social School for EDU. She is our director of membership, and her and I are going to share a lot of ideas that you could use at your school to highlight your principals. We're going to talk about post ideas. We're going to talk about video ideas. We're going to talk about questions you can ask your principals that are really engaging. We're going to even talk about, okay, what about assistant principals? And guess what? There's a National Principal Day coming up in May. Do you celebrate that and National Principal Month in October? We're going to cover it all. I'm very excited. Melissa has a host of knowledge that she is going to share with you. So let's buckle in and let's listen. And just if you love what you hear and you look at some of the post examples and you're like, gosh, I wish I just had the template for that. Or I wish I had Andrea and Melissa cheering me on every single day. I want you to consider our membership group. We have a paid membership group that happens on Facebook where we're sharing daily inspiration and answers to your questions. We've got hundreds of Canva templates. We've got recorded resources and live training sessions happening every single week. This is meant to make social media an easy part of your job. Okay. We know social media is not your only job, but what if it could be a little bit easier so that you had the time to do everything else on your list? That's what our membership group is for. So head on over to socialschoolforedu.com to learn a little bit more and get signed up. Join us. Why not make this year the best year yet when it comes to social media storytelling? Now, let's get to this week's K-12 PR tip. All right, today's K-12 PR tip is Instagram. Instagram's making a lot of different changes, a lot of additions. Soon there's going to be comments that people can put on your stories, which is exciting, more engagement, also maybe a little bit more maintenance for you. But the thing I wanted to highlight today for Instagram was your carousel photos. Traditionally, you've been able to share up to 10 photos on Instagram, and they have switched that to 20. Okay. So if you are posting natively through the Instagram app, if you want to share a series of photos and videos as posts on your Instagram page, you can now share up to 20 instead of just 10. Now, some of you might think, well, I go on to my business suite, my Meta business suite, and it still says I can only share 10 photos. I'm not sure why Meta hasn't been updated yet. And no, Meta Business Suite knows that now Instagram, you can post up to 20 pictures, but you can post 20 pictures, but you need to go to Instagram. If you're posting through Meta Business Suite, it's still only going to allow you to post 10. So if you've got great pictures and you want to share more than 10, you can. And just again, a reminder that on Instagram, you are easily able to share both photos and videos in those carousel posts. Okay. So I hope that helps. Those carousel posts basically show up on your grid, right? It's not a reel, it's not a story. It's actually a post on your Instagram page. So if you want to share more, you can. All right. Now that we've got that tip down, let's get into a bunch of ideas for National Principal Month with Miss Melissa Marti. I am so excited to welcome, I think for the first time. Is this your first time, Melissa?
It is the first time on the podcast. Yep.
So Melissa Marti is our director of membership here at Social School for EDU. She is simply amazing. She is the magic behind our membership that serves almost 450 school districts across the country. I could probably brag on you all day long, but Melissa, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, share a little bit of your background, and then your role here at Social School for EDU.
Sure. So my background is in education. I have been a teacher, high school teacher. I taught math and English prior to starting my family. And then once we started having children, I decided to stay home. And I found your company in 2018. And I've been with you ever since. It's been a great way to still stay involved in education, but be able to be home with my kids. So I manage 2 schools. I do social media for 2 schools with your company still. and like you said, the membership program.
So tell them how you found me in 2018. What were you
I
doing?
was I was a school board member for our local school district for a number of years, and I was at a school board conference in Milwaukee, and I went to your session, and you are magnetic and wonderful to listen to. And I went to our superintendent after that, and I said, "We need her. Like we need this in our school district." And it took a couple of years of convincing, and a couple more times coming to listen to you at the school board convention. But we got you, and then I was able to get on your team.
Yeah, awesome. And it's yeah, been probably about 6 years.
Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit of your family background just because I think it's so unique with living there on a huge farm?
We do a farm. I grew up in Michigan, not as a farm girl, but I met my husband in college, and he is from a farming background. And so after leaving the farm for a couple years to try life in the big city, we lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Um, we moved back once we were ready to start having kids, and we moved back and bought the farm from his parents. And so we live on a farm, and I have 4 kids, um, and it keeps us really busy.
And ski racing is a huge part of your life. Were you a skier, Melissa?
Huge. No, I don't enjoy skiing.
So her
No, I can ski, I can hold my own, but our kids got into ski racing 8 years ago. I think it's been 8 years. My oldest is 16 and she started when she was 8. Um, and it has kind of blown up, and they're phenomenal ski racers. My older 2 girls, they're 14 and 16, and we travel the country with them. They ski all over the place, which, this job has been wonderful for that too, because I can work from anywhere. So I can work from a chalet in Colorado or Vermont or wherever I happen to be. So it's been really nice. But ski racing has become a big part of our life. So that's where I am most of the winter.
Yeah, and they're like on a national, almost international basis with
They
I
are.
last year I think your daughter not only got first place for the girls, but I think she beat all the boys.
She did in a bunch of different races. So,
So it's
yep.
it's pretty phenomenal. I love your family and love the work that you do here. So can you just share a little bit more about the social media work you do for the accounts you manage, and then maybe a little bit about your role with the membership group?
Sure. So right now I am managing 2 districts. I've been up to, I think I had 5 at one point, and then I just have back down as my role with the membership group has grown. I have one school in Minnesota, and then I manage for our local school district also. So as an account manager, I don't work in the school district. Our system is that the teachers in the school district and the staff in the school district email us the content, and then we take care of um, finessing and finagling, creating graphics when needed, and getting those things scheduled to post on Instagram and Facebook primarily. So again, I do that for 2 different school districts currently. And then our membership program is amazing. And it is designed to help support the people who are working in school communications in the districts. So inside the membership group, we have about 800 people. You said 450 school districts, but it's about 800 school communicators in the group right now. And we offer training every week. We have a live training most weeks, and just daily discussion. We have a lot of great discussions about a lot of social media topics, but really anything that school communicators are dealing with in their districts.
Yeah, and you do a great job of managing that group. But the secret sauce is all of our amazing members because
Oh, it's phenomenal.
yeah, they're out there doing so many things. And today, one of the things that we help kind of remind and train and encourage our group on is kind of recognizing some of these special days to celebrate, which can be a pain in the you know what to remember all of them. I'm just holding up now, if you're watching us on YouTube, our special days to remember and celebrate for 24-25 school year. This is not everything, but this is a lot. You can see every month has different months or weeks or days that you could, if you wanted to, you could celebrate on social media. So I'll have a link in the show notes to our version of the 24-25 school year. But today we really wanted to focus on National Principal Month. It's coming up. It's the month of October. And some of you have a lot of principals to celebrate. And some of you, like me, have two or one, right? And so that's kind of just everybody's a little bit different. But we thought we'd inspire everybody with just some different ideas on National Principal Month. So few simple ideas to share. What would you share first, Melissa?
Well, I saw a great one recently from Brittany Brooks at Texarkana ISD, and we can link to that in the show notes maybe if you want to.
Yeah,
But she did it as a way to introduce the principals at the beginning of the school year, not for National Principal Month, but I'm going to use it for my principals for National Principal Month. She has just a picture of the principal, and it's on top of like a picture of the campus. So you can easily identify which principal goes with which building if you're in a bigger school district. And she just asked each one to share one fun fact about themselves. And then she shared them all together in one post. So you can click through, and then each fun fact is on each individual picture. I mean, I'm not even a member of that district, and I clicked through, but they got my engagement because I wanted to see everybody's fun facts.
yeah,
So that was
yep.
a really easy idea, I thought. And she just posted everybody all together in one post.
That's awesome. Yeah, and there's a lot of ways if you can, if you wanted to separate them throughout the month, you could certainly do that. Obviously, she probably used Canva. Can't, we're big Canva users just because I'm not a trained graphic designer. You might use InDesign or Photoshop or some of those things. But being able to have some type of just a graphic with their picture can be really great. One of the great things in our membership group is we have um, probably a couple hundred templates all together from Canva that are all focused on education and schools. But definitely being able to highlight a principle and just saying, hey, today we're celebrating our principles for National Principal Month. Today we're celebrating so and so, because that means that, hey, we're not celebrating all the principles, we're not missing anybody. And I can say, being able to ask for a fun fact, awesome. It's always great to give a little bit more than just here's our principle. However, everybody only has 24 hours in their day. Sometimes it's very challenging, or it can be, to get responses from your principals because obviously they're busy. And right now it's all back to school season. So don't feel like you have to do that, especially if this is maybe the first time that you're kind of trying to recognize them. It could just be, hey, today we're giving a shout out to our principal at this elementary school or this high school, and you could just share it that way. Don't you agree?
Oh, I agree. And I don't even think you have to have a graphic. I mean, I love a good branded graphic. I really do. I make graphics for a lot of different things. But I saw one post from last year, and they just had pictures, like candid shots that the person had gone out and taken, but they took them on a day that everybody was wearing school swag, which was really nice. So if you have a homecoming week coming up with a, school spirit Friday or whatever, that's the day to go out and take these pictures, because then it's branded without you creating a branded graphic. So
Yeah.
you can go out and get those pictures of the principals then.
Yeah, some schools even do like maybe it's a Friday a day that you always wear spirit wear every single Friday. And just as a school
Mhm.
communicator, that makes it easier because even your students, your staff members, they could all be wearing the swag, and it's just a great time to get out and take those pictures. So I love it. I also have another
Mhm.
example. If you have a lot of principals, there's 42 principals at Keller ISD. I think that's in Texas. They did a really great job of just putting all 42 pictures. And what they did was they put a black and white um, filter so that everybody's it didn't look too crazy with that many faces on it. But that ended up getting over 300 likes and loves, 16 comments, 26 shares. And, we are into this social media game. We know that the more likes and comments and shares you can get on these posts, the better. And so just being able to use their idea, if you have a lot of principles, just something like that could be very, very simple. And theirs just said, their caption said, October is National Principals Month, and we invite the entire KISD community to join us as we honor the hard work and dedication of school principals all month long. Keller ISD encourages you to share what you love best about your favorite principal on social media using the hashtags hashtag thank a principal and hashtag celebrate KISD to show your appreciation. And then they did get some comments in addition to, asking for those people to share hashtags. So that's just a great example if you want to, what we call admire and acquire. Don't have to
Absolutely.
recreate the wheel, right?
And you can
Okay.
search for that Think a Principal hashtag on Facebook, and you'll have all kinds of examples of captions that you can admire and acquire from also.
Yeah. I had another example from Hillsdale Local Schools in Ohio, and they did the guests from the baby photos.
I have that one on my list also.
Okay, so talk to me about that one.
Oh, I took it and went with it in the Throwback Thursday mindset. There's 5 Thursdays in October. So if you can get some old throwback pictures of your principals, you can either do one each Friday or one each Thursday, or you can do them all on the same Thursday and have your community guess which one is which principal. I don't know that she did it for a Throwback Thursday, but that's how I would do it, I think.
Yeah, so Throwback Thursday, Flashback Fridays, definitely could
Yeah.
incorporate it on those days.
Mhm.
She had shared it on October 10th, so I'm not 2023, so I'm not sure if that was a
Sure.
Thursday. She used lots of emojis in her caption, but basically had the three principles and then had them numbered 1, 2, 3, which is really good. Okay, like if you do it in one graphic, being able to say like who is childhood picture 1 and 2 and 3. And she worded it, said, our three principals are great sports. They've shared baby pictures of themselves. Ready for some fun? Can you guess which one is Mr. Williams, Mr. Keeb, or Mr. Keese? We'll reveal who each baby grew up to be on Saturday, October 14th at 7 p.m. So she told them, and then she ended up getting 34 comments. And a lot of them just said, they guessed number one, this teacher, number two, or principal, number 2, 3. So that was a really cute idea. So that could be something. It's early September. If you can get a baby picture from each of the principals, that might be fun. And if you have a bunch of principals and can't get them all, you could still probably do this, right, Melissa?
Yep. And I think when people always ask, well, then how do you share the answers? When you do something like that, how do you tell them what the right answer is? And I looked at hers, and on Saturday, October 14th, or whatever time she said she was going to announce it, she actually made the same graphic that she had the baby pictures in. Did you see the
I did.
final?
I did not, but we'll
And
link to
then she
both of
put the
those.
adult pictures. She put the adult pictures in the same spots, and then she edited the posts to have the other graphic also. So they were both side by side. So instead of creating a new post, she edited the original post and had the answers with it.
Okay, awesome. I love it. So that's another idea. Another example of a post that you could do is maybe interview your principals, like either video, you could obviously do that, or you could just record their answers. So that might be easy to just get them recorded, or you could ask them to respond to a survey. What kind of questions do you think are fun to ask, Melissa? Do you have some?
Ooh, let me think. How about
I'm catching you totally off guard.
you didn't give me this one ahead of time. Let's see. Questions that I would ask. Something about you. I mean, you could do the standard, like, what is your favorite part about working with our students? You could ask your favorite memory from, like, if they're an elementary school principal, from elementary school, or if they're a high school principal. Why they chose to become a principal. What do you have? Do you have fun ones?
Well, and then we had like, do you have any hidden talents? Like sometimes
Okay.
that's super fun. What would students be surprised to find out about you? We got to keep it school appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you won the lottery and you weren't principal anymore, what would you do instead? And by the way, these I just prepared ahead of time, and these were a lot of ideas from our membership group. What current trends are baffling
Yep.
you? And some of you have seen a lot of the like principals trying to use the lingo of today, which I don't
Yeah.
understand. Your
No.
favorite band, favorite movie, favorite food,
Mm-hmm.
all of those types of things. And then you could put it together in a kind of get to know you post. So we had that template and shared in our group where it looked kind of like a bulletin board,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
it had a picture of the principal and kind of get to know you, and then just some fun facts.
Mm-hmm.
But When you have a lot of words on your graphics, Melissa, talk to me a little bit about ADA compliance and some of that.
Yeah. Yep. That's my big tip for the day. You would ask me what my big tip would be for the
Okay.
day. And my big tip is when you're making these graphics, keep the text to a minimum. Um, Screen readers, people who are using different tools to read the screens because, they're visually impaired or whatever, um, they don't read words on graphics. So if you're going to have words on the graphics, you really need to have them in the caption also. And at that point, I mean, it's just hard to read big blocks of text on graphics. They're hard to zoom in on. So it's really better to keep the picture on the graphic with just, the name or the name of the school or something simple like that, and then keep all the text in the caption.
Yeah, we see a lot of that. And Melissa's not as old as I am. I'm 46 now, and I need cheaters. And I can, on my iPhone, I can make the text from like Facebook appear bigger, but graphics, you can't do that. And so, you guys, over 80% of the people, and probably closer to 90%, are looking at your stories, your updates on Facebook on their phone. So that is very small. Okay. So graphics, again, can be great, but you can't try to cram so much onto the graphic because you're not going to be able to read it. And so if you do have text on the graphic, yes, definitely put it in the caption as well, but try to minimize it a little bit. Put the main things that you need to have in there on it, but the other information or questions or things like that, facts, those could also be just included on the caption itself. So
Plus, you
that's
probably will have a typo and you won't realize it until later.
yeah, it's very challenging. It's a little more challenging to fix a typo on a graphic than it is in a
Mhm.
caption itself. And so I learned way back when, even when honoring like staff members week after week, I used to always put their name and their title in the graphic. And when you're doing a whole bunch of them, sometimes you might update the title or the name, but not the title. And so now all of a sudden, your principal is now your third grade teacher or something. And we're all bound to make mistakes, and I've probably made them all. So that's important to know. But yeah. Now videos can be a little more involved. Do you have any video examples that come to mind, Melissa, that we could use for National Principal Month?
And like you said, that these require a little bit more legwork. I've seen ones where people do like a day in the life of a principal and they follow the principal around for the day, showcase, what they do, their interactions, the challenges, the, things that they tackle throughout the day. You could include a little interview with the principal also about like what their job means to them or reflecting on their role. But that's going to take a whole day of your time, right, to follow that principal around. So it's a little bit more involved. There's a lot of really great ones interviewing like the kids about what their favorite thing about the principal is, or the staff thanking the principal for being supportive or whatever. Just little short video clips that you can piece together to make a longer video. And that can be, if you record it horizontally, you can share it as a regular video. Otherwise, you can flip your phone and record it vertically, and it would make a really easy reel. Just
Yeah.
depends on how you want to share it.
Yeah. And we're getting, we'll share a couple examples. I have one example from New Auburn. It's way back from 2018. And our principal at the time is now a principal at another school we serve in Wisconsin. But one girl was so animated of talking about what she loved about Miss Mason. And she just loves her because she's so kind. And so some of those reactions that just you can genuinely get by interviewing kids of what they love can be really, really meaningful and a lot of fun. And I definitely think if you've got some of those, put those towards the beginning of your video.
Absolutely.
Again, we've shared a lot of tips and tricks on video, but we definitely want to start out with some action and some talking. You don't want to start out your videos just with a long, hey, this is National Principal Month with a logo of your school, right? We
Three
are
seconds
all,
long.
yeah, we're all competing for attention. And so you really want to think about your own um habits when it comes to kind of scrolling through social media. So and with all these ideas, you guys, you're going to pick one, right? You don't have to do all of these things. And some of these you might be like, well, this year I'm going to do this, but maybe by next year I could try to get ready to do something a little bit more involved. So that's just important to know that you don't have to do all of these ideas, but we're just trying to give you some things to think about. Let's see. The another way to get some feedback is just potentially asking for followers on social media, like maybe through a survey, for families to submit a principal shout out. And so in many cases, just having them submit like a Google form that you could then use their words, and whether that be in a video or just um, a written post, you could definitely do that, because I think in many cases, our principals, they get to deal with a lot of the issues, right? The struggles, maybe some kids that need a little bit additional guidance or discipline, or, all of that stuff. So I think it's fun to be able to fill up their cup. So that's a great method. Have you seen any schools do that well, Melissa?
No, I can't think of them off the top of my head. Negatalk, right? They do that where you can submit a staff shout out, I think.
Yes, yeah, and they do that throughout the year for any staff
Yeah,
member.
it's not
So,
just
yeah, we
principals.
can show an example of that, but basically ends up sharing maybe a student and a staff member together, or a picture of that staff member, and then just being able to share some positive affirmations. And I think also, if you're recognizing National Principal Month with anything that you're doing at your school, let's just decide or say that maybe, some of the kids made them cards and they brought them into the principal, or maybe you recognize them with a little pep rally or something, that it's always okay just to be able to recognize them with a simple post like that, kind of showcasing what you do. Um, Another example, which it's similar to the guess the baby photos, but is having the principal as a student at the grade level they're now in charge of. So I've got a great example from Navido Unified School District in California, and they've got Mrs. Early, who's a high school principal, and they have a then and now picture, and her high school, like basically her senior photo, I'm imagining. But that was just a really cute idea as well. So it's another kind of throwback type post. But I know I did that for our principals here in New Auburn a few years ago, and that one was really funny because it's just the photo styles have changed a little bit, right? And definitely the hairdos and all of that. So that can be really fun. Um, Reels are fun, and I think we have been sharing a ton of real, like, just ideas and trending reels. So have you seen any fun trends that maybe could be utilized for celebrating principles using shorter vertical video?
I know a lot of schools did the sunglass reel at the start of the school year where they're wearing the sunglasses that are branded. What if you had like "We love Miss Johnson" sign and you did the same thing with that?
Yeah.
That could work. Yeah, like where everybody's holding the sign up instead of wearing the sunglasses. I think
Yes.
as long as you turn your grid on your phone when you're videoing, you can just kind of keep that sign in the same spot. And then when it cycles through, it would look really cool, I think.
Yeah, and most of you have probably seen the sunglass trend. I didn't realize it when I tried to do it for my school, that you're really supposed to make it look like the sunglasses stay in one
Yeah, you
spot.
want them to stay in the same spot. Yep.
And so there's a grid that you can turn on your photo or on your camera, which is on your phone, so that you can keep that on the same spot. So yeah, your whole concept. I love letterboards, so I did that for the
Letterboards would work. Yeah.
first day of school. But if you can put a letterboard together and then have them hold that, and then all of a sudden it flashes through all the people that are saying thank you, that would definitely be great. And there's probably a lot of other trends that you can look at on um, Instagram or on Facebook or on TikTok, that you could say, okay, this could lend itself really well to recognizing our principles. And so, yeah, I think that's great. Now, in addition to National Principal Month, Melissa, there's actually a school principals day
Hmm.
uh, on May 1st. So it's totally like 6 months away or whatever it is.
Hmm.
And then there's a National Assistant Principal Week that happens April 7th through 11th. So, what would you say to the listeners about should our schools also recognize all of these days?
I don't think you do all of it. I think you pick what works best for your school and you run with it. I know early May is crazy busy. You've got School Hero Day, you've got National Teacher Appreciation Week. I think School Nurse Day is in there. Um, there's another one.
School
There,
Communicator Day
School
is pretty
Communicator
close.
Day. I mean, May is just insane. So for the school districts I serve, we take it off the plate in May and we focus on it in October. And that's when the principals are celebrated. Now, for Assistant Principal Week, if you are in a big school and you have a lot of assistant principals and you have a lot of regular principals, I think you keep them separate. It's a lot if you're going to try to fit 40 or 50 or 80 staff members in 1 month. But if you have two assistant principals in your district, or one principal and three assistant principals, or whatever it is, I think you can do them all together in October.
Yeah. Yeah, and I do the same thing. It's like if they get a whole month in October, and because I only have two principals, I may pick a couple different ways to recognize them. Maybe one is a short video kind of thanking them, and one of them is just kind of a recognition type post. But then in May, on May 1st, I don't highlight them then because they already got their whole month. Um, Principal national assistant principals, we often get this question in our membership group of, well, what about them? And so I guess I know what I would say, but if we're recognizing our principals and we decide not to do our assistant principals because we're going to do those in April when they have their own week. If somebody would say, hey, what about our assistant principals in a comment? How would you respond to that, Melissa?
I would say stay tuned. Our assistant principals will be featured during this week in April.
Boom, just like that. You can keep it positive and be like, yeah, stay tuned, or we agree they are awesome and we're going to be highlighting them, at this time. And so then it's like, okay, then I know that they're going to be covered. But yeah, it can be a little bit tricky who you include, who you don't include, what days you choose to celebrate, which ones you don't. There's no magic answer. Some of you guys just decide we're gonna recognize our staff positively 1 month of the year, and then we're not going to do all these individual days. So I just don't want any of you to get like guilt or a ton of stress. It is good to think about these things ahead of time, and to kind of have a plan as you go in, which is why I like having this calendar in our newsletter. Hopefully all of you are signed up for our newsletter. We remind everybody every newsletter of kind of what's coming up so that you could just do a brief scan. And again, some things can be as simple as just sharing a picture and a simple shout out. Some might be a little bit more involved. There's a lot of options, and what you can't tackle this year, maybe you want to put on your list for next year. But yeah, any other things, Melissa, that you'd want to share about National Principal Month?
I had one other tip for people. If you really just are swamped and you can't get out to take pictures, you can use the search feature on your page and search for your principal's name and find past photos that you have shared of them. And you can snag 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 of those, and then you can use those for a post. You could put them together in a reel, quick reel with some music if you wanted to go that way, or you could just make another post about them. But that would be a way to get some pictures without bothering them. I mean, beginning of the school year is really busy, I know, and without you having to go get the pictures yourself.
So we typically share the most pictures and stories on Facebook. And so what's Melissa saying is when you are on your school page, there's an option right underneath your main cover image where there's a search bar that's only going to search content on your Facebook page, guys. So if you have, Mr. Reef is your principal, and that's, you could plug in their name. So anytime we ever mentioned his name, he'll show up. Or if there's other keywords that might have been used, or just the word principal, or yeah, you can search through and you could use those photos. I love that tip. That's a great one. So you shared one of your best social media tips already. What do you have another best social media tip? Because you guys got to understand, Melissa does an amazing job with our membership group. She looks at a lot of pages. As soon as people come join our group, she's kind of checking out their social media pages. We love to highlight the great things that people are doing. Sometimes there's some things that maybe people are doing that aren't best practice, and we never call them out. But you don't have to call out anybody by name right now, Melissa. But is there anything right now that you're seeing that maybe our listeners could pick up on and take action on?
Sure. I think focusing on how your post is looking visually as people are scrolling, because you want something that's going to make someone stop and want to read and see what you're talking about. And as a consumer on social media, I am not stopping for any big blocks of text. I don't have time. I'm not doing it. So keeping that in mind and making sure that you're keeping your text in like easily digestible chunks, lots of emojis, bullet points, things like that to keep it fun and organized and easy to digest, I think is key, because you could have the best story ever, but if it's in one big huge block of text with no emojis and no breaks, people aren't going to stop and read it.
Yeah. That's a great tip. And what I was just thinking what I'm going to do, Melissa, you do a great job of storytelling. Hibbing, Minnesota and Pittsville, Wisconsin are the school districts you serve. I'm just going to share that with your contact information, your email address, so that if people wanted to kind of take a look at some of the stories you're able to share, I think that would be very, very helpful for them to be able to see. And, if you guys can get a couple pages, other school pages that can give you some inspiration, that's really helpful. And of course, Melissa and I would love to help you even more. If you joined our membership group, you can check that out online. But Melissa does a great job of introducing everybody, giving them a great recap when they first join. And you've got access to all of our recordings, all of our Canva templates. Our goal is to make social media a little easier so that you can focus on all of your other responsibilities, which I know most all listeners, social media is not the only thing you have to do. It's just one of them. And so, any other parting words, Melissa, as we kind of sign off for today?
I don't think so.
Okay, awesome. Well, you guys, you got a lot of great ideas. I'd love for you to let us know. You can email me, Andrea at socialschoolforedu.com. Email me back and let me know what you did share for National Principal Month, because we'll be sharing some of those out on our social sites. You're going to take some of these ideas. Oh, I have one last tip. Okay. One last tip for you, and that is AI. So, right before this interview, we had a lot of these great ideas. But I have the paid version of ChatGPT, the 4.0 version. And what I asked it's a great thought partner, you guys. So being able to come up with, hey, what should I do? So I typed in, provide 10 fun social media post ideas for recognizing our two principals for National Principal Month on Instagram and Facebook. And it gave me 10 ideas with little descriptions. So behind the scenes day, which is basically what you said, throwback photos, which is what we had, a principal spotlight series sharing fun facts, hobbies, and interests, student shout outs, principal Q&A, photo collage, principal appreciation posts, day off fantasy. What would the principal do if they could have a day off, right? Yeah. A fun fact Friday, or some type of a community challenge where you're encouraging students, parents, and staff to post their own thank you messages. Okay. So just to throw that out there as another inspiration idea, whether it's National Principal Month or whether it's something else that you want to recognize, ChatGPT is our friend, and we can get a lot of great inspiration from that. And I'm glad that a lot of our things showed up on that list, Melissa.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right, you guys, keep up the great storytelling. Can't wait to see what you share. And we will see you back here next week with another fabulous guest. Bye, Melissa.
Bye. Thank you.